Today, I thought I should review a film. A film that came out recently and everybody seems to fucking love it. They think that this film is fucking flawless, man. I disagree. I fucking disagree. To the fucking core, man. This is an enjoyable film. Don't get me wrong. This is a fun film to watch, but it is not a good story. In fact, it's a bad story, and I'll tell you why it's a bad story. There are multiple reasons, man. Firstly, the guy wishes that Nikki loves him more than anyone in the world. What happens though? What's the actual thing that happens after the wish? Nikki disappears, man. Somebody else comes in. Like, it's the same body, but like a different person. You can justify it by saying some bullshit crap like, well, the real Nikki wasn't capable of loving him. Come on, man. Are we really gonna do this? This was not supposed to be a horror movie, in my opinion, but they forced horror into it. I don't think horror is even the real reason why this movie is famous. It's, I think, more so because of the dynamics between the guy and the girl. I think that's the real reason why this movie is successful. Not the fucking horror element in it. There were some scenes and all which people appreciated, but like I still don't think that's the real reason. Now, when the fucking body gets taken over by this demon or whatever the fuck, I do think that the dialogue could have been a lot better. During that time, it could have been a lot more polished. It just wasn't. People look past it, which is fine. As I said, there is some screen chemistry there between the guy and the girl, which really fucking helped this movie, man. These things matter, you know. That's one of the bigger reasons, more important in my opinion in this context than the actual screenplay of this film. I really think so. As I said, this was an enjoyable film, but a bad story. There were a lot of other flaws as well, like the lighting at times was just extremely dark, which is obviously a choice that they made. I thought it was a weird choice, man. It happened a lot in the initial phase of the film, and then afterwards it was like kind of forgot about it, I feel like. It was a very bad choice, in my opinion. Most of the movie, if you think about it, was shot during nighttime, so I don't know why you need to add these dark effects on top of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. The actors were great, but I was just thinking about how good the actress is while I was watching the film. And it might sound like a compliment, and it is a compliment, but it is also somewhat of a negative sign because I think good acting, real good acting, is when you're not thinking about how good an actor is while you're watching them act. You know, that's what I personally think. And it's not completely her fault because the role was just so over the top. You couldn't help but think about the fact that this person is actually acting. So in the initial scene, the very first scene when she was actually herself, I wasn't thinking about her acting skills or anything. So maybe it's more to do with the character and like the type of stuff that the character was doing than anything else. Now there were some things which I personally wanted to see, right? So objectively there is nothing right or wrong about these, but I wanted to see Nikki without the curse a little more, especially after the climax when she actually gets free from the possession. I wanted to see a little more of her. Like I didn't want to see the cops coming up to her and like fucking arresting her or something, but like just something more. That's personally what I wanted to see. I really feel like the only reason that wasn't added was because the creators just couldn't think of anything to add. I also think that this movie could have been a lot better if it wasn't horror, as I've said before. The horror element in this was kind of forced and it created a lot of hype, right? But like nobody knew it's gonna do that. What I think would have been a better story, and this is just my opinion, I think most people are gonna disagree, especially now because the film is such a big success, but I think it would have been a better story if the girl wasn't possessed by some sort of a demon to show attachment. It was the same person who's now in love with the guy, but like because they're just not meant to be, they're like not compatible or whatever the fuck, she eventually falls out of love, right? And that's like the entire story. And throughout the film, like I don't know how, but like somehow the guy realizes that this is happening because of that wish thing. And also, if you want to show that the guy's a piece of shit, sure, like you can do that, but like I think it would have been a lot better story if this is how it worked out instead of like some sort of a demon or whatever the fuck taking over, and like then we have this horror element coming into play. It would have been a less famous film if that was to happen. As I said, this is just my opinion and I understand that a lot of people will disagree with it, but the very fundamental of the story, right, the very action that drives the plot in this story, which is the wish and then what happens to the girl, is flawed in my opinion. and that's why I can't really take the story very seriously. And there were some direction choices, as I said, which were a bit weird in my opinion. I wasn't a fan of them. So, like I didn't like that as well. I don't like it when lighting techniques are used and then what you see on screen is like very obviously an effect of like some sort of a lighting technique. In my opinion, just like acting, good lighting is when the viewer doesn't even think about lighting. It's the same as anything else in film. I personally feel. There were some flaws in my opinion. Overall, as I said, an enjoyable film though. It is definitely rewatchable, but I do think that the real reason this movie is famous today, as famous as it is not because of the story or how good the film is. Of course, that plays a part as well, but the real reason this movie is so famous is because of gender dysphoria that's fucking present in today's time.